So this is my video of Spider-Man 2 and getting the Platinum Trophy. And in this video, I'll show you how I got the Platinum Trophy. I'll even show you some of the glitches I found along the way that I found funny. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. And maybe if you're feeling it, leave a like. And we're going to start this video off with not one Spider-Man, but two Spider-Men. And it looks like they're having a cracking old time at the beach and also taking on a man that's known to be a beach, Sandman. Oh, could you imagine the feeling of your suit with wet sand all over it? Or should I say all in it? And we're taken back 6 months ago to the live shooting of Tarzan, the movie. Something tells me it's going to be over 18s to watch this movie. All joking aside, this is where we get introduced to Kraven's coat, and most importantly, Kraven. He likes to hunt. And then we get our first trophy on this journey for defeating Sandman. Speaking of which, we find out Sandman left behind little presents for us. And defending those mini presents he gave us are little versions of himself. Instead of making sandcastles, he made sandmen. After beating all the sandmen, we find that Flint and left behind some memories for us to find. And there's more throughout the city that reveals. And after all that excitement, we get some more good news. Peter gets fired from his new job. But not to worry, to cheer himself up, he decides to give himself a new suit. And for getting a new suit, we also get a new trophy. Peter hears noises outside and decides to go check out what the noise could be. And he never thought it would be his best friend. And never did he think would he be going back to school with his best friend on his old bike. But not only did Harry bring back Peter's bike, but he also brought something else. Something that Peter never ever suspected. A childhood memory of them two breaking into the school. Also, Harry could bring Peter back to his locker and have the most roundabout way of offering him a job. Why couldn't he just ask him instead of just putting it in his locker or someone else's locker? Whose locker is that? And Peter is given a brand new badge, and I think that's what finally sold him on the job. I sure know I'd join if I got a pretty new badge like that. And Kraven the Hunter has officially arrived at his new hunting ground, the concrete jungle, with his big band of lunatics. Meanwhile, Miles' mom is telling Miles that she has a brand new boyfriend. And then the moment just becomes very awkward. But she asks Miles to meet him. He says yes. The Spider Boys are then given a babysitting job, and they are babysitting Scorpion. Not the Mortal Kombat one though. That's a different universe. Why are they letting him walk? He's too dangerous to let walk. And the two Spider Boys weren't told they were babysitting more than one person, and that other person is none other than the very positive man himself, Mr. Negative. And of course, and as a shock to absolutely nobody, Kraven and his insane militia then try to intercept the two villains. Miles kind of forgets where he is for a moment, or who he is. Decides to see how long Mr. Lee can hold his breath for. He then tries to rescue him. And of course, I hate when this happens. Miles gets a brand new power. Miles decides that saving people's lives is more important than getting revenge on Mr. Lee. So to save these people's lives, he like Falcon punches a blade off a ship and puts it flying. Miles' uncle then comes in. He tries to tell Miles that it's not his fault that Lee got away, and it's also not his fault for what Lee did. To distract Miles then, he tells him that he left stuff around the city that he wants him to have, but he has to go find it, because where's the fun in just giving it to him? And it wasn't that hard to find one of the places that his uncle was on about. After finding this place, all I think about is how did he set this up? Like, did he just see these places and be like, ah yes, perfect for my base? Peter then has his first day at his new foundation that Harry set up and is giving him credit for. But when your dad's that rich, who gives a shit? To be fair, it is very swanky looking. For a startup, that is. Kraven discovers that hunting a scorpion is not as fun as it sounds, because he proves he is far too much for that man. Somebody's been eating their Weetabix in the morning. When the hunt for Scorpion proved not to be much of a challenge, he decided to up his game and start hunting a black cat. And as everyone knows, Kraven the Hunter has absolutely no jurisdiction in Paris. So Black Cat decides to peace out and go all the way to Paris. And that thing that Miles is holding is from Doctor Strange. It lets you teleport anywhere in the world, or shows you anyone in the world. And Miles decides that he wants to see Lee. Or he wants to order a pizza. Nobody will know because Doctor Strange takes it back. Or I should say Wong. We then come across Quentin Beck. And for anyone who doesn't know who he is Mysterio, or was Mysterio. And it looks like he set up some sort of fun house for us to try. And after auditioning to become the next DJ Mysterio, Quentin then tells us he'll be in touch. And to get the hell off his stage. I don't think he liked the music tastes. And here I thought everyone liked Baby Shark. And this scene may not be important to some, but I thought it was, because picking his style is the most important. Like, who doesn't want to walk around with a big neon cowboy hat and neon sunglasses? Harry then steps up and he wants to show everyone how much gains he's been making over the last few years by not only ringing the bell but destroying the goddamn thing. How much would it cost to replace one of them, I wonder? And this is why I said his style is the most important, because it reflects on Spider-Man as well. I think it's a look he should stick with. It looks like Peter and Harry have a lot to talk about, like how Harry didn't know that Peter was Spider-Man and nobody knew that Harry had an alien on him. Since Craven thinks hunting Lizard is no good and hunting a black cat's no good, he decides to hunt a different game, Dr. Lizard. Peter and Harry show up to save the day and Harry has a brand new suit. And it looks like we found out why Craven didn't want to bother with Spider-Man at all, because he just can't compete with Craven's sneakiness. Craven is one sneaky bastard. The blade that was stuck in Spider-Man proved too fatal for him and it ended up ending his subscription to life. So Harry decides that black is the new red, white and blue. This won't end well. He's like 2 seconds away from Naruto running in that black suit. And while rocking the new black suit, I got a new trophy. We have to give back Harry's suit after a while because he's just too sick without it. But we need Dr. Lizard's help without the lizard. So we have to get the antidote back off Craven. And while getting the antidote back, we hunted Craven down to a church. But he did discover something about us, that our new suit just hates loud sounds. But that didn't stop us from getting away with the antidote to help Harry. I know it doesn't look it, but we did. And here I found someone that was too afraid to fight me, so they started living under a rock. Had to restart the whole level. Peter loses his new workplace because of the hunters, blowing it sky high. Miles and Peter find out where Dr. Lizard is hiding. Dr. Lizard decides to do a runner and gets followed by Miles, Peter and the hunters. While Peter's in the sewers hunting down Dr. Lizard, him and his suit discover a rock and his suit likes it so much he wants to make it his pet. After finding the lizard in the sewers, we get a look at his true form and my god, it looks like he's on an all protein diet. We nearly had him beat and given him the serum, but he decided to tuck his tail between his legs and hightail it out of there. And of course he rampages through the city and we have to chase after him. While chasing him through the city then, the hunters get involved too. It's about as surprising now as the sun coming up. And after chasing the lizard down for so long, we fell off a building. But finally, after all that, we managed to pin down the lizard so he can go absolutely nowhere. And we finally can remove the lizard from Dr. Lizard's name by giving him the serum. The no longer lizard finally awakes after taking a very long nap. He has no clue where he is or what's going on. Once he shakes off that sleepiness and he gets his bearings, he gets absolutely spooked by a big long tentacle handing him his lab coat. The doctor's hungry, so he tries to order a pineapple and pepperoni pizza. Spider-Man don't like no pineapple on his pizza. Spider-Man then decides to peace out because he really doesn't like pineapple on his pizza. But anyways, since we cured the lizard of not being the lizard anymore, I got the trophy, medicine. And after a very long day, Peter decides it's finally time to take a bit of a sleep. And as Peter sleeps, Mary Jane notices that they have some unexpected guests that are coming through. Instead of doing the unthinkable of waking Peter and getting him to fight these, she decides she can handle it herself and grab her electric pew pew and go greet her guests. She decides to opt for an upgrade, adding one of Peter's web shooters, just so she can electrocute you and make you sticky at the same time. Peter wakes up from his sleep and decides to have a bit of a swing about while being all moody, so MJ decides to get a little help, and that help would be Miles. He comes in just to swing after him. After MJ chases down Peter, we find out that Peter wasn't awake at all. He was just a co-pilot for his suit. Meanwhile, Miles is doing his superhero thing and he saves the life of a construction worker working in the dead of night, and it turns out it's one of Craven's hunters in disguise. And even though Miles has been given a sleeping thing, he's still so polite to the killer and says you're welcome to him as he passes out and gets spider napped. MJ tries something shocking to wake up Peter by literally shocking him, and then I can't tell if she just pissed off the suit or pissed off Peter, but either way she is told to run, and by god does she run fast, and who could blame her. Peter wakes up on a park bench then, far from his bed, and has absolutely no questions about how he ended up on said park bench. And Miles finally wakes up to find himself trapped just in a cage. Miles has absolutely no problem figuring his way out of that cage, and once he's out of that cage, he makes his way to an arena where he finds Craven's men waiting and cheering, and also finds Mr. Negative right in the middle, just waiting for someone to show up. And I think Miles is absolutely positive he can take him in a fight. Mr. Negative then blows a hole through the roof, but that's not the best part. The best part is he learned a new trick where he can see inside Miles' soul, and once inside Miles' soul, he figures out who he is. He makes him fight spirits or whatever those things are. After Miles shocks all them spirits, we get a new trophy. And once they're back out, Miles already has a plan to get help from the outside by freeing his worst enemy. Even Craven didn't see this plan coming from Miles. By this point, Peter already realized that Miles is missing and he's on the lookout for him. And he's about about to get a phone call to find out where Mr. Negative is. And since Miles freed Mr. Negative, this gives me the next trophy. So it turns out that those tentacles do not like Mr. Negative or his powers. Mr. Lee then tells Peter to relax and to keep his tentacles to himself, and he tells him then where Miles is. Peter and his pet alien then go to find Kraven and Miles. He's interrupting Kraven's axe throwing contest, and as punishment he gets trapped in a cage that Kraven had set up for him. And then Kraven's like, lad, betcha a fiver you can't break out of that cage. And Spidey and his pet alien are like, absolutely no bother, and it looks like Kraven's down a fiver. Kraven then finally gets what he wanted after all this time, and it's a fight with the new, angrier and more dangerous Spider-Man. He sure doesn't like to fight fair. Peter decides to show Kraven some new kinks and some that he likes himself. And before Peter could continue, Miles comes in to shock them both and ends up separating them. Peter then decides that his old suit is cooler and he wants it back, but he also wants to do it in the most dramatic way possible. And before the goo symbiote thing can get to him, Miles swoops it up in a canister. After beating Kraven, getting back his old suit by taking the symbiote off and rescuing Miles, we get a trophy for it. When we get to Oscorp to bring the goo tank to be destroyed, we then run into Harry, who demands his suit back. I swear that fella has a problem with the goo. The goo escapes from the canister, and once again Harry and his symbiote are one. The goo then starts to crawl all over him, and once it is all over his body, he becomes something more. He becomes so strong he even breaks an old person's walking utensil. And then he just straight up copies Spider-Man's style by putting just a fucking huge spider on his chest and back. Spider-Man's just like, oh shit. And sweet Jesus, would you look at the size of that tongue? There's no way that fits comfortably in his mouth. Venom then makes a triumphant escape from where he was, and of course he makes an absolute fire entrance here. I'm guessing he's just trying to show off here. Of course he's just trying to impress Kraven, that I have no doubt. And of course, like clockwork, Kraven wants a fight with the big fella. And Kraven finally gets absolutely wrecked by Venom. What he wanted all along. Venom eats his head and lets off one of the biggest burps I think I've ever heard in my life. And of course Venom just wants to show Harry what the whole world would look like if every person just knocked off their lights for one single night. And I think he convinced Harry as they both tower over the city of New York. Venom then just ups and leaves to go and do God knows what. But we still bag a brand new trophy. It looks like Venom's been busy since we last seen him, because he's got some new kids. I'd hate to see that fella giving birth. And they're just as hard to fight as their father. Because the symbiotes are too tough to fight, we decide that we're going to have to make a banger of a tune to beat them. And it works very well. Peter and Miles then have to go rescue Miles' mom and his best friend and a whole bunch of other people that are trapped underground by the symbiotes. This is random, but this photo is just so funny. I'd be the best photographer. Harry drops by to tell us him and his alien officially identify as just an alien. And they have a new name that they chose, and that chosen name is Venom. Like that Eminem song. MJ then gets a new look, whether she likes it or not, growing like 6 foot taller and her hair even longer than that. Her and Venom would make such a great power couple. I mean, look at them. So she doesn't really like the new look, so she decides to get rid of it and stay with Peter because he's more her type and not an alien. After Mary Jane's symbiote thing dies, it allowed me to acquire the new trophy. Peter's a bit in trouble because there's still a bit of a symbiote that lives inside of him. There's only one man that can help him get rid of it, and that person is Mr. Lee. Him and Miles decide to go into Peter and save his soul. Okay, so it turns out there's actually 2 people that can only help Peter, and that's Miles and Mr. Negative. And once they get rid of whatever's blocking Peter, Miles says it's not his fault. None of it is. And this helps Peter in such a way that his body turns that little bit that was left inside of him into a different alien to help him, and also gives him a brand new suit, which is called the Anti-Venom suit. It comes with a whole bunch of new powers and abilities, but that's not all it comes with. It also comes with a brand new trophy for us. Harry then has to confront his dad just to tell him that it's not just a phase, it's a lifestyle. Venom then decides that he wants to have a pair of stones, and as soon as he has the pair, he feels powerful. Miles shows up with a new suit, which I really like. I see a lot of people don't, and I don't know why. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments. Got the next trophy here for beating 100 enemies with Miles' new powers. Came as an absolute and utter surprise. Well done to Miles, he finally got himself a girlfriend during an alien invasion. Priorities. Venom then shows Spider-Man what the world could be like, just full of symbiotes, and the both of them could rule over the symbiotes, all thanks to his pet rock. Then Miles, MJ and Peter come up with a new plan, and the plan is Peter plays hide and seek with Venom. Miles stands in the middle of everyone and says, "Look at me!" And MJ gets the most dangerous part for herself, collecting Venom's pet rock. After MJ gets out after collecting the rock, her and Miles make a break for it. Peter and Harry then make a school reunion, just the 2 of them. During Peter's and Venom's private school reunion, Venom discovers that his rock has been maced. Venom gets so mad about this that he grows wings and becomes the first ever alien pigeon. He gets to where his stone is and decides he's had enough of having a passenger on him and just throws him like he's a tennis ball. Miles is standing there like, how am I supposed to beat this fella? Peter can't help. Venom gets his pet rock and then decides to flee with his new pigeon wings. Miles gets the pet rock back and decides to put it in a safe place. And to get rid of Venom, Peter has to put on a light show just to get Harry out of that suit, or alien. If it was that easy, why didn't he just do it in the first place? I joke, I know it wasn't that easy. Harry looks like he's just sick of this shit. Harry's outfella then decides to have a hissy fit at the two Spider-Men, blaming them instead of blaming himself for the alien he put on him. Peter then has one of the best ideas I think he's ever had. Besides being Spider-Man, of course. He sets up the foundation Harry set up. He decides to semi-retire, handing off the web shooters to Miles, letting him become the one and only Spider-Man. And then that gives me the last story trophy. His first job as Spider-Man is to help two people who are just locked out of their museum. And it turns out that the museum is being robbed. And Miles only gets half of the stolen stuff back. But he promises he'll try to get the rest of the stuff back. She tells Miles about the drum. And while looking for this truck, we got our next trophy, which you get for tying up people 25 times on a line. Douchebag stole all the stuff as he was a deluded crackpot. He goes to prison. Miles does get all the stuff back though, and has a boogie. And for getting all that stuff back, it leads us to our next trophy. Harry and his team put task force around New York City to help it thrive a bit more. Those tasks were taking a broken bike for a cycle, playing a B first-person shooter, and finally putting different attributes together to mix two plants together to make one brand new plant. What bees are then sent out to pollinate all of New York. After doing all these things, Harry sends us a brand new suit. We also gained a new trophy. We then come across a bunch of cultists, and after beating them all, we come across a very strange person who somehow knows how to find some secret tattoos, and it turns out to be a very familiar face to me. We decide to team up with her to beat the cult and find their leader and beat him too. Speaking of which, we come across him and he turns out to be one of the angriest gingers you'd ever seen in your life. We find him and he ends up escaping, and Yuri's not too happy about this. She takes a swing at Spider-Man. They end up finding him once again, but it turns out he was after one thing all along. Another piece of the symbiote that just happened to be laying around. And then the mad ginger decides to turn it red. I wonder what that could mean. And after failing all that miserably, we still unlock the trophy. Miles then decides to help people around his school by getting someone a date, to homecoming, rescuing the mascot outfit from one of their rival teams. They all got a bit too excited for this. And then helping a student do their whole entire project. And after helping all the students, they decided to band together and give me a new costume and a new trophy to go along with it. So there's more of the Mysterium things around the place. They give you different things to do, and I was quite proud because I got gold throughout all of them. And after beating them all, we finally find out who's behind it all, and it's not Mysterio. It was his two assistants the whole time, and they locked Quentin in the closet. Quentin then pulls an absolutely massive Houdini. David Blaine, eat your heart out. But I actually managed to bag 2 trophies here. The first one was for getting 10,000 parts, and the next one was for uncovering the truth behind all the Mysteriums. We're then on to hunt some mechanical birds that were left around from Craven, and these birds were hunting people that were alive and dead. Something weird was going on there. So it turns out that them birds were actually hunting just one person, a man that could change his shape, also known as the Chameleon. And he was also Craven's brother. After finding and destroying all the birds, and that Craven had a brother, we unlocked the trophy for it. And what type of new Spider-Man would we be if we didn't go around helping all the community by talking to old people, giving someone a big metal dog, allergies, you know, and helping Howard put all his pigeons somewhere that they'd really enjoy living. Howard asked us to do this, by the way. We didn't just take his pigeons. And doing that for Howard gave us another trophy. But that's not the only trophy we get. The other trophy I got then was for helping everybody else in the community. Then we go down hunting every last base that Craven had around the place, and we find out a few things about him. That he had a wife and a few kids. While in the middle of everything, I unlocked a new trophy for reaching max level. Then find out that one of Craven's children decided to kill her whole family to impress her dad. And for finding all that out, I got the trophy. You may have noticed that I've been glowing throughout the last few clips, and I couldn't get rid of it for the life of me, so I thought I'd switch to Peter and it would go. It didn't. And after clearing out all the nests across New York City, it granted me the new trophy. And then, because the journey never ends, we're on to break up all the Sandman's crystals that he's left behind, and all them together give a beautiful statue to his daughter. And after all that, then I get a beautiful trophy. And then taking the most random pictures I could, I got another trophy. After finding everything the Prowler left for us, we went back to his place to find that he had a schematic of Miles's house, or so we thought. So we race back and we find that Uncle Aaron has moved in upstairs. And all that leads us to getting the next trophy. Our next trophy was got by upgrading all of our abilities, and the next trophy I acquired was for upgrading all the gadgets we had. The next trophy was got by getting 100% in all districts. Our next trophy comes with a cutscene, and this cutscene can only be triggered after collecting all the different spider bots all over the city. All our spiders get maced then by a PS2 looking character, and she tells us that Miguel will be coming, or that he might be coming. coming. Either way, he's not getting these bugs back. Our next trophy is got by eating shit and hitting the ground. The next two trophies that I got were an absolute pain in the ass to get. The first one is using robot arms on 100 different enemies, and the next one's along the same lines, where you have to use your symbiote powers while in a symbiote surge against 25 enemies. The next trophy is for visiting your Aunt May's grave. It's very sweet. This next trophy is from gliding from one district to the next with just web wings and nothing else. And I genuinely thought this would be the hardest trophy to get in the game, but it turns out it wasn't even that tough to get. It did take me a few tries though. The next trophy I got was for doing so many flips that it made me feel like I had virtual motion sickness. And then the next trophy was for rounding all the 4 bases at the stadium that I don't know the name of. Is this the thing that people want to do? We don't have baseball in Ireland, so I'm curious. The next trophy we get is for going to the church that we went to in the last game to see the cube that Miles and his best friend made. Our next trophy then is unlocked by getting all the suits. And getting this last trophy allowed me to get the platinum trophy for the game. And I do leave it on the Bully Maguire suit. And that's it guys, all the videos done. I hope everybody enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I hope I see you in the next one.